Yours is the first study of its kind. What question did you set out to answer?
Well, as you may have experienced in your life, 2.5-year-olds are charming creatures.
They are.
Setting aside potential behavioral issues, they're quite chatty and they can be fun to chat with, but sometimes they can be difficult to understand. So maybe instead of banana, they'll say nana, or in the case of my 3-year-old, she'll say socks instead of sharks, and it can be a little confusing. The question we had is, do they have trouble understanding themselves? So do they actually store words in their mind the way they pronounce them or the way that we pronounce them?
Oh, so in their mind they would be hearing sharks, but socks would be coming out.
Exactly.
So why does that happen, and why, and what is going on in their mind? That's a fascinating question. Okay, so then how did you set about answering that?
Well, so what we did is we brought in 54 mothers and their 2.5-year-old children, and we recorded them saying lots of words, some of them difficult, like squirrel and strawberry. And then 2 weeks later, we actually tested both the children and the mothers on their ability to understand those words. And we thought maybe mom would be the easiest person to understand, or maybe their own voice would be the easiest voice to understand. But we also tested them on the voice of another child and another mother. And what we found wasn't really what we predicted. We found that they're best with any adult voice, and they perform equally poorly with a child's voice. So they actually understand an unfamiliar adult better than they understand themselves.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so pause for a second, because we also have some audio clips, no video to go with this, but listen carefully. We'll do the first one. You mentioned strawberry. This is where set this up, and then we'll listen to this together. What were it was your colleague saying the word strawberry?
Sure, I have to give credit where credit is due. This is work with Dr. Angela Cooper and Dr. Natalie Fetcher in my lab, and they are very skilled at eliciting these words from children. Now, you can imagine we wanted children to say words, and we didn't want to tell them what word we needed them to say. So what you're going to hear in this interaction is us getting a child to say strawberry, and what we actually heard, we weren't quite sure that was really strawberry.
And are they looking at a picture or something like that?
Yes,
They're looking at a picture. Okay, let's listen to this and hear the word strawberry.
This is a puppy. That's a puppy. Danai.
Strawberry?
Danai.
What's that again? That's a...
Dobby.
Dabby, it's so cute. So they're looking at a strawberry. They may be thinking strawberry, but anything's coming out.
Adobe, yeah.
Dobby.
Dobby, Dobby, yeah.
Okay, I have another audio clip for you. What is this one? What does this one show us?
Now, this is just to show you the variability. So at this age, some kids are quite easy to understand, some kids are quite difficult to understand. There are patterns in the way words tend to be pronounced, but here you're going to just hear all the different variations. I'm not going to tell you what the word is. I want you to try to work it out. Listen.
Okay, let's listen together.
Cure. Clover. Clover. Shoulder. 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 Star. Stroller.
I'm going to hope that it's because of the earpiece that I'm not hearing it clearly, because I might say sugar. I don't know what it is.
It's actually the word stroller.
Stroller.
Yes, so usually we have context, we know what's going on, kids are putting words in sentences, but when we just present these words in isolation without context, they can be quite difficult to understand.
All right, so where do we learn then? What does this add to our understanding of how toddlers develop language?
So on a fun level, this tells us that kids have trouble understanding themselves too. They understand us perfectly well, even though they may not always behave.
Even strangers, as you said, stranger adults, they understand.
But on a more scientific level, it tells us about how they represent words in their mind, which is really interesting.
What does it tell? I'm thinking of the parents watching us this morning, listening to this and now realizing that they may have a much better appreciation of the proper word in their brain than they're saying. What does this tell moms and dads about how they should speak to their kids?
Don't underestimate your children. So they really know a lot about the sound structure of the language. They know many more words than they say, and don't imitate the way they speak, because that would just irritate
So
them.
the baby talk, don't do it? Just like talk as a normal adult and presenting the words?
That's a topic for another day. It depends on the age and the context. So when we're speaking with young infants, which is actually the age group I normally work with, baby talk can be quite useful.
Okay.
But imitating the pronunciation of a 2.5-year-old is probably not going to go over very well.
Okay. It's strawberry, not
strawberry.
Whatever we
not
heard.
Dobby.
Talk normally and properly.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And thanks for bringing those audio clips, too, because we can understand your work. That's Elizabeth Johnson. Thanks again. Associate Professor at U of T Mississauga, and she led that study, which you can read in more detail if you're interested. It's going to be published in Cognition, that journal, in the month of April.